So what's up guys, I am Black Ops Amazing, welcome back to another video, welcome back to another Zombies Q&A on the channel, the series where I take your questions from the comment section below to do with the zombie storyline, Easter eggs, and I answer them. So let's just get straight into this, where the first question is from Mr. Nobody, and you say, in BO2, Richtofen talks with the transit crew, but in BO3, the Shadowman says that the old Richtofen was a friend of his. Do you think that the Shadowman was telling Richtofen to help the transit crew? Now the overall answer to your question is yes, but it's a lot more complicated than that, because whilst Richtofen was helping the transit crew, in a way, he was talking to Stuhlinger inside of his head, telling him what he needs to do next. There's no doubt in my mind that part of the reason why Victor survived for so long was because of Richtofen telling them what to do, but we know Richtofen was only helping Victus for his own agenda. He wasn't helping them because he felt nice, he wanted to be their friends. He was helping them so, in the end, they could help him achieve his own goal, which was to gain full control. That version of Richtofen we saw in BO2 was evil, but he wasn't evil because it was 100% his fault, because he wanted to be. It was because he was corrupted by the Dark Aether. We know anyone corrupted by it then begins to hear voices in their head, and one of the voices they hear is the Shadowman. It was the Shadowman during BO2 that was telling Richtofen to do all of these things. Every evil thing that Richtofen did, which included manipulating the transit crew, it was the Shadowman telling Richtofen to do that. And as you say in this question, well, in Black Ops 3, the Shadowman says that Richtofen was an old friend of his. Well, he wasn't lying.
You do know that Richtofen is a friend of mine. I say friend, but really he's so much more than that. At one point, I almost considered him my apprentice. I mean, he did stab my reporter friend and steal the summoning key, but at one point he did everything I told him to. I keep hoping he'll remember the promise he made to me so long ago.
Richtofen was a friend of the Shadowman's from the moment he became corrupted by the Dark Aether. I guess the Shadowman is kind of over-exaggerating because Richtofen had no choice, he was corrupted. But as he said, Richtofen was his apprentice. He did everything he told him to, even though he stabbed his reporter friend and stole the summoning key. However, that wasn't the same Richtofen that did that. That was Primus, the one that was corrupted by the Dark Aether was Ultimus Richtofen. But at one point, Richtofen did everything the Shadowman told him to, simply because he was corrupted by the Dark Aether. So yeah, that was the main reason why Ultimus Richtofen was so evil. However, I can't put all of the blame on the Shadowman. Even before he was corrupted in Doris, Richtofen wasn't a good person. Even Primus Richtofen wasn't 100% good, but most of it was down to him being corrupted and the Shadowman using him. He wasn't necessarily lying when he said Richtofen was his friend or his apprentice. The next question says, hey BO8, is it possible we will see Group 935 in the Dark Aether? Now, it depends what you mean by Group 935. Do you mean the people, the employees who work for them, or do you mean anything that represents Group 935? It could just be a piece of their work, a building that they worked in, something that just belonged to them. Maybe the Group 935 symbol on a random piece of board or something. I don't know. But I do believe the answer is yes, because at the end of Toten we know that everything was banished to the Dark Aether. Not only people, but our zombies maps. Blood of the Dead we saw, Toten, all of these places were banished to the Dark Aether. If you wanted to get a good idea of what this would look like, just think of Revelations, how we have pieces of different maps stitched together, islands near each other. There are items from each and every universe just scattered there in the Dark Aether. And there is a radio in Cold War Zombies from Zykov who pretty much tells us this.
Sometimes I watch you salvage scraps and take them to the crafting table. I see you transform useless garbage into weapons, and you remind me of me. I have watched you for some time now. I spent countless days preparing to communicate even before my first message at the end station. That was a great moment. The culmination of years of work, gathering parts, cobbling together the machines I sent to help inform you, to give you what you needed to survive. I suppose I should be thankful this place is filled with so many items from our world. It is a junkyard of the ages. Scraps from different places and eras litter this landscape. But even after all this time, I do not know how or why they got here. I only know they provided this old mechanic with just enough tools and materials to save my life. And possibly yours. But as you know by now, I was not the only one watching you. I was not the only one making plans.
So he said there, after being trapped in the Dark Ether for so long, he used whatever he could find in the Dark Ether to survive, and he said to us, I suppose I should be thankful this place is filled with so many items from our world. It's a junkyard of the ages. Scraps from different places and eras litter this landscape. So Zykov tells us that items from different eras from Earth are in the Dark Ether. He's already found perk machines to pack a punch. The perks are already remnants of Group 935's existence, so I'm willing to bet more than likely if they were to look hard enough and know what they were looking for, they would find things that prove the existence of Group 935. Like I said, whether that just be their logo on a brick or something, a weapon that belonged to them. I don't think you'd find any of their employees, they'd probably be dead. There weren't really any that existed at the end of our previous timeline, but maybe you could find one of their old buildings. Derice perhaps. And the final question of today from Aaron says, hey BOA, I don't really know much about you, but I have a question. Do you think Dr. Monty is still alive, and do you think there might be zombie monkeys? And I've picked this one because in Cold War we've already seen monkeys in the zombie story. We have the ghost ones in the Dark Ether, and also an Outbreak when you do the rover mission. What the strike team are trying to do in that is send a monkey into the Dark Ether. And well, this got me thinking and kind of hoping, because in our old story, we've already seen zombies monkeys in both Ascension and Shangri-La. The story in Ascension is these monkeys were sent up into outer space by the Soviets, and when they returned, they were infected by 115, causing them to become undead. And then as for the monkeys in Shangri-La, well, they were just infected by 115. So we've seen zombie monkeys before, and now in Cold War Zombies, we have been sending monkeys into the Dark Ether. What's inside of the Dark Ether? That is Aetherium. And what can Aetherium do to people or animals? Turn them into the undead. So is there the possibility we could be seeing zombie monkeys in the future? Well, there is a radio which is from Grey, where she speaks more about it.
Well, we certainly do live in strange times, don't we? First off, I wanted to thank you personally for your work on the Recon rover missions. The lessons we're learning are going to prove invaluable as we move forward. As you no doubt witnessed firsthand, the specimens on board the rover were physically transformed after they passed into the Dark Ether. We're trying to ascertain if this process is similar to what we saw with the creature we dubbed the Mimic, but we're just not sure. Or were the specimens actually replaced by other objects from the Dark Ether? If so, does that mean there are now little monkeys lost in there? Either way, it's a horrible thought. The rover did manage to transmit some audio and video recordings during its mission, but I really don't even want to get into that right now. Our working theory is that Aetherium functions in the other dimension like oxygen does in our own. That would explain why the infected can't move beyond the outbreak zone. If they did, they just wouldn't be able to survive, like a fish out of water. Last thing, do let us know if you start to experience any strange symptoms or feel that you yourselves are changing in any way. I honestly wouldn't want you to go through anything like whatever the poor monkeys did. Bless their little furry socks.
As she mentions, and well, as we see when we do this objective in Outbreak, when the monkey in the rover passes through the portal in the Dark Ether and then gets spat out again, it changes into different objects, such as, for example, a crate of apples, similar to the Mimics. But one interesting thing she does say is, well, were the specimens actually replaced by objects from within the Dark Ether? Does that then mean that there are now monkeys lost in there? When we go into the Dark Ether, we see there are ghost monkeys. We haven't actually seen any undead ones there yet, but knowing this, I feel this is definitely something we could see. Just like we had in Ascension or Shangri-La, another variant, another boss enemy we could be seeing in Cold War, something I could definitely see happening is zombified monkeys once again. So there we go. Thank you guys for watching today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating if you want to. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, goodbye.